Salutations everybody, it is Maddie here today, and I've had my hands on the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind expansion for about a week now, and I'm here to give you my thoughts on the experience so far. But before I give my thoughts on that, let me just give you guys some details in general about what this expansion is. So naturally, the name suggests that we're going back to Morrowind, specifically the iconic island of Vardenfell. The DLC offers about 30 plus hours of brand new adventure on this island, along with a new class, the Warden, a new PvP mode, a new trial, and so on. So it is a pretty meaty package. You can buy the DLC separately if you already own the game for $40. On top of that, if you're new to Elder Scrolls Online, then you can buy ESO along with Morrowind when the game launches on June 6th for $60. And I've advocated so much that while ESO is not your traditional Elder Scrolls game, it is a good video game as far as I'm concerned. So how is the Morrowind expansion? Well, let's start off with just saying that this clearly is nostalgia bait. Now, for better or for worse in my opinion, because when you first land on the island, you get hit with so many memories, especially for me when I entered my first dungeon here. The architecture of it really is what started bringing back those memories of those opening moments in Morrowind. But here's the thing, is that with that nostalgia bait does bring a bit of a downfall for ESO Morrowind. The reason I say that is because the main story for this DLC is often treated almost like a vacation of go here, check this out, and you go around the map, and then it relies on the side quests to do the heavy lifting, which I'll get into in a little bit. But point being, the game wants you to explore the island as much as possible. Of course, that makes sense, because they want you to think of all those times you had in Morrowind. And here's the thing, is that if you're a new Elder Scrolls player, you haven't played Morrowind, this DLC, when it comes to PvE and questing, is going to be pretty unappealing to you. Because if I were to say the first time you're experiencing Morrowind, how should you do it? I will always tell you, go back to Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind by Bethesda Game Studios and play that game. But there have been some natural advancements with this DLC for Morrowind that you don't realize because it comes with all modern games, such as, for example, waypoints. You know, they're expected nowadays, and I'm not going to pat ZeniMax Studios on the back for this one, but I'm just saying that it's a good change of pace for exploring Morrowind, where the one by Bethesda Game Studios, you're constantly checking your journal, you're looking at all the signposts, following the roads. It's pretty easy to get lost if you haven't played the game a lot, where in this game, you see the waypoint, and you can really take in the sights around you and experience Morrowind as a whole. Like I said, it's not a huge deal, but going from point A to point B with simplicity is nice in this very specific instance. So the DLC takes about 700 years before the original Morrowind, and the point of the main story is that the Tribunal is having their power sapped away, and it develops further after that. But your job upon landing on this island is to figure out what's going on and how you can solve this problem. And while I did say the main story does rely heavily on exploration, this is probably the best written part of Elder Scrolls Online I've experienced, mainly because of its nods to previous titles. There are some really funny moments here, such as a character inside the census office in Seyda talking basically about players such as myself in Morrowind who restarted their game time and time again because they couldn't get just that right character.
For the most part. But sometimes it takes great effort not to strangle one or more of these pointy-eared blusterers. For example, no one ever remembers their birth sign. Some even try to change their answers on repeat visits, as if I wouldn't notice.
And if you've played a lot of Morrowind, then you'll hear lots of lines from that original game being originated here in a natural fashion, in a way that doesn't feel forced. And I think that was a hard line to toe for the developers, because you're messing with a game on its 15th year anniversary that people desperately want remade, but you also want ESO Morrowind to be its own standalone thing. But it does have to heavily rely on Morrowind itself to have those strengths, such as when you first arrive at Vivec City. When you experienced it in Morrowind, it was this epic city with huge structures, but when you're there in ESO Morrowind, like I said, it's 700 years before the original Morrowind, you'll see Vivec City is still under construction. Sound is also a really strong part of the nostalgia in the Morrowind expansion. The soundtrack sticks out, although it is original and not directly taken from Morrowind. At times you will hear a track or two from Morrowind, but it's also, for example, the sounds of silt striders on the side that once again evoke those memories as you explored Morrowind. And I did mention that the side quests do a lot of heavy lifting. Like the original Elder Scrolls Online, the main story in Morrowind is a bit of, I guess you could say, a throwaway. Not in a bad way, but just the side quests are immensely better, more interesting, and get you exploring the island, which further immerses you in Morrowind, thus making it the best way to play. So like I said, the main story will send you all the way to one town, but the point is that on the way to that one town, you're gonna pick up 3 or 4 different side quests and probably get distracted with those, then make your way to that town only to return somewhere else. At PAX East, I did have a chance to try out the new Warden class as well as the PvP mode, and the PvP mode is a lot more fast-paced, which I think is good because I thought the original PvP in Elder Scrolls Online was a bit of a stalemate constantly. I didn't find it too enjoyable. And the new class is overall a good time, and it's a good place to introduce it because a lot of new players are going to be stepping in to ESO. So if you're buying it for the first time, you actually have an additional option that lots of other players don't have. So my verdict for this ESO DLC is that if you haven't played Morrowind before, but you are a big Elder Scrolls fan, it is a little hard to recommend this expansion to you only because this relies naturally so much on Morrowind. If you like Morrowind and you like Elder Scrolls Online, then ESO Morrowind is definitely the expansion you should pick up. And if you're looking into Elder Scrolls Online in general, I would say this much. Wait for a sale. Not because ESO is bad or Morrowind is bad, just I know this is very much a hit or miss title, and to tell you the truth, Elder Scrolls Online goes on sale so much and for the most dirt cheap prices, where I've seen the gold edition, which comes with not only the full game, but also all its DLC such as the Thieves Guild, the Dark Brotherhood, basically hundreds and hundreds of hours of content at the price of about $17, $20. So if you're on the fence about ESO after watching this video, I'd wait for a sale or maybe buy Tamriel Unlimited on a used price, and if you like it a lot, then just buy the Morrowind expansion if you met the prerequisites I mentioned earlier, which is basically playing Morrowind. And I think that's the best way to experience it, but if you're just a big ESO player in general, then I wouldn't hesitate picking it up either. It's really subjective in that manner. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video informative. If you have any questions about ESO Morrowind, then fire away in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, the links are in the description down below. Do consider supporting my Patreon. It helps fuel all the content we create here. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.